This is AC Benewa Otu with Midday Live on TV3. To the headlines now. Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice calls on Ghanaians to exercise restraint in judging the special prosecutor. Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture says it has been vindicated after it was forced to abandon a closed season for fishing this year. And in news elsewhere, U.S. Treasury Department imposed sanctions on 3 individuals it accuses of expanding or extending the conflict in South Sudan. This is Midday Live. To our very first story, and Commissioner of the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, Joseph Whittal, has called on Ghanaians to exercise restraint in judging the special prosecutor. Speaking in an exclusive interview with TV3, he noted institutions building is not easy, saying with time the work of the special prosecutor will be seen.
The Office of the Special Prosecutor was established after Parliament passed the Office of Special Prosecutor Bill in 2017. The office serves as an independent investigating and prosecution body to make inquiries into corruption, bribery, or other criminal cases at the national level, whether in public or private sector. Some are of the view the office is irrelevant in view of the fact that constitutionally established institutions like Shraj and Yoko have the mandates to combat corruption. Commissioner of the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, Joseph Whittal, however, disagrees, saying Ghanaians should hold judgment on the office.
The Attorney General's outfit that should be doing the prosecutions, generally speaking, is completely inundated with all criminal prosecutions. Institution building is not easy. 2017 the law was passed. It is supposed to be budget ridden. 2018 is the first year that they could even have had a budget.
The Finance Minister announced in the 2018 budget statement presented to Parliament that government, in its commitment to the fight against corruption, has allocated 180 million Ghana cedis to the Office of the Special Prosecutor. When asked if he feels the Office of the Special Prosecutor conflicts with his office, Joseph Whittal stressed the 2 offices have different mandates.
We have procurement-based corruption, which is seen as one of the most serious and incipient weaknesses of our public financial management system. If you give 180 million to a new office, you wouldn't be looking at the old offices like Shraj that you have conveniently ignored over time. If we were to get that amount of seed money, I am sure you'd see a different Shraj.
The Commissioner further expressed disappointment key government institutions like Shraj continue to be funded mainly by development partners such as Danida. In 2019, Danida's supports to Ghana will shift to a more trade-driven one, leaving it less able to support institutions like Shraj.
In other news, the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture says it has been vindicated after it was forced to abandon a closed session for fishing this year. Chief Executive Officer of the Ministry, Professor Francis Nunu, explained the unprecedented low catch recorded during August and September period is indicative of the gradual depletion in fish stock. Here is a report by Miriam Osei Ajuman.
In June this year, the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development announced a closed season to take effect in August to all forms of fishing activities. The intervention was intended to address the depleting fish stock in Ghanaian marine waters. The decision was met with strong agitation from stakeholders, forcing government to postpone the ban to 2019. 5 months on, checks at Elmina, Shamar, Keta, Prom, Choko, Tama, Sakumono, and Jamestown, according to the ministry, indicates that this year's catch is the lowest in decades.
August 90s ne 80s no penifo a yedi omachi a omo kire yen se de yekoposo no omo kire yen sa ata mo to da wa ha na de utimi chi kakwa kese.
In the 80s and 90s, our fathers were able to make bumper catch with hook and line, but now the fishes are swimming away from this area, and it is impacting on our livelihood.
Previously, August is a season for bumper catch, but the situation has changed. We are gradually losing our jobs.
Chief Executive Officer of the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture, Professor Francis K. Nunu, said the testimonies justify the proposed close season.
We have really experienced the effect of a dwindled stock. The catch this year has not been as expected for all the sectors. So we've had numerous complaints from the fishers. So overall, productivity in the sector is gone low, and we've had to offset it with imports and all. Earlier on, their main concern was the short time between the announcement and the implementation. We announced in May, June, and then we wanted it in August. They thought the time difference was very short. Yeah, so they were not prepared, and some said they had gone to take loans, etc. Now we are going to announce it very early, and in fact we've told their leaders even in December.
He called on traditional leaders and other stakeholders to ensure that the ban is enforced next year.
To some other stories, private legal practitioner Martin Pembu says there is the possibility of a different government changing the proposed public holidays laid before Parliament by Interior Minister. Meanwhile, a former Minister of Lands and Forestry, Inusa Fuseni, sees the proposal as irrelevant and out of place. They spoke on key points.
Putting it simply, the president is exercising his powers, okay? Yes, the powers as given to him by Act 601, and also by extension, that's a mandate the people gave him, okay? So to that extent, it's difficult. But you see, the Constitution also says the power is exercised for the welfare of the people and in the name of the people. So the 4th August, to be candid, is quite a difficult one, knowing that some other parties have issues with it, because 4th August is the formation of the UGCC.
Yeah.
You see, yes. So now to have put it there is creating some problems, politically. It's creating problems. So
and given that problem you're talking about, clearly this, some would say, well, it's for as long as you remain in office.
Exactly.
It would only take a change in government for this to be reversed as well.
And I mean, and it's quite certain that definitely we can't have one party stay in power forever. One day, they definitely will go. So, you know, that's the same thing that happened to this SHS. You know, when President Kufuor came, he changed it to 4 years. Apparently, the students did better. But when NDC came, they reversed it to 3 years.
Nana Adedankwa Akufo-Addo is engaged in grandstanding, political grandstanding. And it appears to me that what he has done is an exercise in self-aggrandizement. Why this unholy haste in resurrecting and rehabilitating your ancestors? I don't understand it. In the city itself, the money, the local currency, the legal tender of this country has already done that for you.
The National Identification Authority says all newly issued national identification cards are now fully operational. The authority says even before it completes the nationwide registration exercise, their cards have been activated to be used for banks, account transaction, passport acquisition and traveling within the West African sub-region. Kwachia Fred Nyama has more in the following report.
Card registration exercise officially commenced in June 2018 after several missed deadlines by the NIA. Officials at the Jubilee House, former presidents and majority members of parliament were the first group of persons to register and get their cards issued to them subsequently. But this was not without controversy, as NDC MPs boycotted the exercise, questioning, among other things, why the voter's ID was not part of accepted national IDs for the Ghana card registration. Adentan was the next stop. Here, there were reports about how some persons input wrong data, particularly false digital addresses. Acting Director of Corporate Affairs at the NIA, ACI Francis Palmdetti, says such individuals will soon be fished out and made to face the full rigors of the law.
The law requires that persons who have come to register are presenting the truth about themselves. So they are told that every information they have provided must be truthful, because the register we are trying to create must be credible, must be accurate, and must be fit for purpose. So it is important that those who come to register are mindful of the consequences of providing false information, their prosecutorial consequences.
Francis Palmdetti indicated that the penalty could range from paying a fine to serving a jail term.
Providing false information to an official, the law has an omnibus penalty, which is 5,000 penalty units, and then a jail term of no more than 10 years.
In November 2018, Vice President of think tank Imani Africa, Bright Simons, raised critical questions about the NIA's digital address requirement. Bright Simons argued that homeless Ghanaians would be denied the issuance of the card as they have no fixed addresses. Francis Palmdetti admits this is a valid concern.
A reality that confronts us as a people. But I think that the digital address is a more convenient way of addressing it now than relying on the street names. An individual who knows that this is where I sleep or this is where I am perched, and he appreciates that, oh, once I am perched here, I can download an address for a location. It may be quite absurd, but the reality is that that's where he sleeps. It's unfortunate that it's not a known structure. I think it's a real situation that I'm sure nationally we have to resolve.
The exercise has so far seen over 206,000 Ghanaians registered and issued their national ID cards. They can't begin using their Ghana cards even though the entire exercise is yet to be concluded. Here is Francis Palmdetti again explaining how they can fully utilize it.
We expect that that's the card. Once you have the card and you are asked to present some form of ID, it's a perfect ID to present.
So those who are in possession on it can begin using it for
precisely
what is intended for.
Yeah.
The registration team is currently at the La Nkwantana Madina municipality, embarking on the next phase of the exercise.
To some education stories, outgoing Executive Council Chair of the Ghana National Education Campaign Coalition, GNECC, Bright Appiah, has challenged the Education Ministry to review the senior high school placement system to effectively distribute students. This, he said, would reduce the number of double-track senior high schools across the country.
Addressing the 2018 annual general meeting of the coalition in Accra, the outgoing Executive Council Chair, Bright Appiah, suggested the rationalization of the SHS placement system.
So assessment that we've done clearly shows that there are certain spaces that are available, that even if government want to run single track, government will be able to do it. So we think that government should do that rationalization and come to the conclusion that yes, indeed, some schools cannot run the double track, and we have the belief that if we do it well, next year government may not necessarily run the double track in most of our secondary schools.
Development Partners Coordinator at the Ministry of Education, Ernest Wesley Otu, asked the Ghana National Education Campaign Coalition, NEC, to continue to advise government on issues concerning education. He urged the coalition to help in the Ghana Accountability for Learning Outcomes program, Gallup.
We have a setup plan that spans the period 2018 to 2030, and it seeks to address or give us a strategy to achieve our aspirations for education in basic education, in second cycle education, and then in tertiary. During the evaluation of the EFA goals, when Ghana joined the rest of the world to evaluate that in line also with the MDGs. We found of the 6 EFA goals, we did very well on 5, except the last one, which was on quality.
NEC, as a member of the Ministerial Advisory Board of the Ministry of Education, provides input on basic education and education in general.
And speakers at the symposium to celebrate 25 years of parliamentary democracy in Ghana have intensified calls for the passage of the Affirmative Action Bill. The Ugandan Speaker of Parliament, Dr. Rebecca Kandaga, urged Ghanaian women to resort to legal action to put pressure on government and parliament to pass the bill into law.
The Affirmative Action Bill, if passed into law, would ensure that policy decisions are taken to give equal opportunities and representation for females in the decision-making process of the state. However, the bill has been abandoned since 1998. Currently, only 37 out of the 275 members of parliament, representing 13.8%, are females. In her keynote address, the Ugandan Speaker of Parliament, Dr. Rebecca Kandaga, called for a review of Ghana's 1992 constitution.
On the composition of parliament, this is what it says. A person shall not be qualified to be a member of parliament unless A, he is a citizen of Ghana and has attained the age of 21 years and is a registered voter. B, he is a resident in the constituency for which he seeks to stand, etc., etc. He has paid all his taxes. The women are not here. This is your constitution. This is the constitution of Ghana. So I believe that you may want to take a review in some of these areas, including the language.
Former Rwandan Gender and Family Promotion Minister and a member of the East African Legislative Parliament, Oda Gazinzingwa, called on Ghana to implement Rwanda's gender budgeting statement.
When a ministry presents its budget, it has an attachment of what we call gender budget statement. Without a gender budget statement, which enlightens what that ministry is going to do in that particular year to empower the community, to empower specifically women, that the budget is not passed in the parliament.
On his part, Ghana's Speaker of Parliament, Professor Mike Eronokwe, emphasized the need for special parliamentary seats to be created for women.
In all that we're saying, we don't want to be at the rock bottom anymore. We want to hit to what Agri said. And we want to ensure, by whatever legitimate means, that the equality anticipated under our 1992 Constitution is maintained by laws and regulations that are consistent thereof. And this is doable.
Majority and minority leaders of Ghana's parliament bemoaned the failure of Ghana to enact a legislation to address issues related to spousal rights.
Let's look at matters of international concern. The United States has said it plans to counter the rapidly expanding economic and political influence of China and Russia in Africa. According to U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton, China and Russia have been using corrupt business practices with little regard for the rule of law. In October, Trump signed legislations overhauling the way the federal government lends money for foreign development, creating a $60 billion agency intended largely to respond to China's growing influence. The U.S. International Development Finance Corporation combines overseas private investment corporation, OPIC, and other government development organizations. Now, China's development policies in Africa have been a concern for Washington as the United States seeks to ramp up development finance in the face of China's global ambitions. China's Belt and Roads Initiative, unveiled in 2013, aims to build an infrastructure network connecting China by land and sea to Southeast Asia, Central Asia, the Middle East, and Europe and Africa. Now, we have David Agbe, and he is the Executive Director, Institute of Governance and Security, to talk to us a bit about this particular issue. Good afternoon, Mr. Agbe. Thanks for joining us. Hello, good afternoon, Mr. Agbe. If you're on the line, good afternoon. Well, we seem not to get through to him. Now, the United States has said it plans to counter the rapidly expanding economic and political influence of China and Russia in Africa. According to the U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton, China and Russia have been using corrupt practices with little regard for the rule of law. Now, in October, Trump signed legislation overhauling the way the federal government intends lends money to foreign development. Now, I'm told that David Agbe is on the line. He is the Executive Director, Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. Well, hello. Good afternoon, Mr. Agbe.
Yes, good afternoon, Nancy.
Thanks so much for joining us on Midday Live.
Yeah, that's okay. It's my pleasure.
Well, so this new move by Washington, to counter Chinese and Russia influence in Africa, is it too late, or it's something that, needs to be done?
Yes, I must say that, quite recently, United States of America has been paying key attention to the emergence of, China and Russia's influence in Africa. And so I am not surprised that, John Bolton has issued this, statement. And since Donald Trump, assumed power, this is the first time that we are receiving such a policy statement towards Africa. And so, significantly, what China is doing in Africa now is quite monumental, that, United States, feel threatened that the way China is penetrating in African sub-region is so significant to the extent that what they are doing now, United States cannot really contest in terms of, do not forget that quite recently, China was able to galvanize and be able to mobilize all, African presidents to China, to Beijing, to negotiate with them, telling them that they are ready to provide almost 60 billion to African presidents for them to use it for developmental, projects. And quite recently, too, we've all been seeing that infrastructure development in Ethiopia, in Nigeria, and in Angola, and so many, countries that China is actually pumping huge sums of money in terms of providing infrastructure facilities, the railway facilities and all that. And all over, you've never seen that United States of America putting those infrastructure in African continent. And so while China is doing that, they feel so much threatened that the emergence of China is actually deteriorating their investment portfolio in Africa. And that is the threat of the United States of America. However, African presidents need to really approach some of these things systematically by understanding the dynamics of the international relation, how we can relate among each other very well, so that if there could be any threat, we can actually face such a challenge. That now what we are seeing is that there is going to be militarization within the African continent, where China is coming, Russia is coming, United States is coming, and other powers are also coming in too. And so we need to be able to formulate a policy such that we can confront any challenges that will emerge from these world superpowers while they are struggling to be able to recapture Africa, to be able to take more of our natural resources. We need to also cement a certain policies that we could really show ourselves that we will be able to navigate through, this process. So there are a lot of things that we need to be able to take this statement and analyze it such that it will not pose any threat to African continent.
Well, obviously, something that we Africans must also take critical key to. But Washington is accusing Beijing of using corrupt means and saddling Africa, Africa with debt to take the foothold. Is this necessarily the case from your view?
I think that this is a political statement that John Bolton is actually making, that China is paying, money to some government here and there and involved in corrupt, activities and all that. It is a political statement. It's just to get, China, that they are influenced in Africa. They are monitoring closely. But I do not think that China is actually doing that. Only the United States, feels so much threatened that the investment portfolio of China in Africa is actually taking a shine away. Now, many people, many African states are not mentioning United States of America as they used to do. Now everybody is talking about China and China and China. So they feel threatened. That is why they are strategically using certain statements that China is influencing Africa through corruptible, means and all that. But the fundamental issue is that that is not the core business of United States of America. The core, influence of United States of America is the fact that their investment portfolio is actually diminishing because of the emergence, the influence of China in African continent. So we need to take John Bolton's statement and be able to analyze it strategically, that what do we need to do as African, continent. And more to the point, the fact of the matter is that African continent has its own strategic plan of dealing with any other country in the world. No matter what, our interest is that we need a partner that could be able to ensure that we develop our continent very well. So we are not talking, United States shouldn't bring the issue of the fact that their opponent, which is Russia and China, should be our opponent. We are looking for a strategic partner that will help Africa, actually develop. And that is the concern of African people, that we are looking for a strategic partner. We are not looking for people who just take our resources without we also see significant infrastructure development in our continent.
Well, thanks so much for your insight in this particular issue. I have been speaking with David Agbe, who is the Executive Director at the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. This is still Midday Live. Stay with us. More news coming up. In business, Chief Executive Officer of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, Mohamed Ni Ajay-Sowa, has challenged the youth in the country to embrace technology and take advantage of the several opportunities to enable them address contemporary challenges facing the country. He was speaking at Europe's largest conference on digital and social topics organized at a trade fair center here in Accra.
Ghana is hosting Europe's largest conference on digital and social topics under the theme Next Level. The two-day conference, which is for the first time being hosted in Africa, has brought together about 450 national and international participants to relate on issues bordering on digital rights, health, content creation, data and future technologies. The Chief Executive Officer of Accra, Mohamed Ni Ajay-Sowa, noted Accra remains one of the safest cities in the world that needs technology to solve its mounting challenges.
The city is full of a lot of people with a lot of opportunities, and as you stay on here with the next two days, you take advantage of all the opportunities that you have over here, connect with people in all aspects of life, be it technology that we are using as a driving force in the area of economics, agriculture, garbage collection, and whatever. The solution of this country and the world is from technology.
The German ambassador to Ghana, Christoph Reslav, said the conference is an opportunity for Ghana to strengthen its relations with Europe, shape ideas and help move Africa to the next level.
And I'm convinced that we really have to strengthen our partnership between Africa and between Europe, because the future of Africa is also the future of Europe. We are close neighbors and there is so much potential here.
The conference will afford an opportunity for diverse groups of stakeholders from diverse backgrounds such as innovation, creation and anthropology to discuss e-waste as a resource and focus on the future scenarios that promote digital solutions with added social value.
These are basically sessions for me to try out and see if I can build a lot of things using technology, so around biotechnology, around drones, and just see the possibility around that. Second of all, I'm also helping facilitate a session on entrepreneurship and creating jobs for the youth. So it will be interesting just to engage with the audience to see what ideas they're thinking around the future of work and the future of the workplace, and seeing how we can tap to create a lot of potential among the young people.
Ghana will also use the opportunity to explore the potential of e-waste as a resource.
In other business news, government is being cautioned against activities that will plunge the state-owned banks into insolvency. This caution comes after government's announcement to individually resource the ADB and NIB to enable them meet the central bank's minimum capital requirement of 400 million cedis and revamp their operations.
Government's announcement follows an earlier decision to merge the two banks into a proposed National Development Bank, but after months of deliberation, that move has been stalled. Government's commitment to resource the two banks individually is to enable them play their traditional roles of stimulating investment in the manufacturing sector and transforming agriculture and agro-processing through strategic lending. The gesture is in line with the government's agenda of economic transformation through industrialization and increased investment in agriculture and agro-processing. But speaking to TV3 Business, banking consultant Richmond Etuahene said the new approach of universal banking has had a negative impact on most banks.
They were created and set up as development institutions. They were called DFI, Development Financial Institutions. But when we came to the universal capital model, they all diverted and went into universal banking. I work with NIB. NIB had a lot of projects. If I tell you, Nestle is one of the projects. Alcatel, even Accra Hotel, which used to be Novotel. NIB had investment there, and they were doing well. So for me, the problem is that if he's recapitalizing it, would they go into universal banking? Or would they stay specific on development agenda?
He advised that unless the two banks focus on their original role of strategic lending and agriculture, nothing much will come out of the recapitalization.
I believe that we should not look at political agenda. Everybody goes there, he belongs to a certain party. But if you want to do agric, please get agric expertise. If you want industry, like NIB used to be, NIB, when I went there were people who were skilled in industry. And they go out to tell you that if you create this factory, this is what's going on. They calculate it and tell you. But unfortunately, if you capitalize and you let them stay where they are, let me make the prophet of Edu. You come back 10 years and ask me, they have failed.
Well, to some other local stories, and convener of a media coalition against Galamsey, Kena Shigbe, says the fight against illegal mining, popularly known as Galamsey, has not yet been won.
If you listen to what the Minister for Environment said, they have put in place some critical measures. But let's go and get to the document and really review it. Implementation is going to be the key. Because as he said, definitely there are some people already doing the illegality. There are people who are on the water bodies. We hope that these 300 odd mining companies that are also going to go, because they are also going to start mining, they will also become one of the vanguards.
In a related development, the former Minister of Lands and Forestry under the Eswal NDC administration, Yusuf Hussein, is calling on all stakeholders to support government in fighting against illegal mining as it poses a serious threat to the environment. He spoke on the key points.
Government on Friday announced the lifting of the ban on all forms of small-scale mining effective Monday, 17th December 2018, after nearly 20 months. The announcement on the lifting of the ban follows the successful vetting of 1,350 small-scale miners, out of which over 900 have now been given licenses to operate. According to Chairman of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, Professor Frimpong Boateng, the committee has been able to successfully implement all the strategies to curb illegal mining prior to lifting the ban. A former Minister of Lands and Forestry under the actual NDC administration, Inusa Fuseni, called for support to ensure the protection of the environment from illegal mining activities.
How many people in the mining communities are born with deformities which can be associated
to
the use of mercury? Because you go there and you find that miners use mercury with impunity. In fact, as a minister, I can tell you that sometimes you go and see empty containers. I mean, mercury containers lying about. The danger is that when mercury enters the river bodies, doesn't matter where you are,
it will reach you.
It will reach you. It can reach you through the fish that you consume from the river body. And even the areas where they mine, the mercury can get into the oranges that we drink, or the cyanide, the oranges that we drink. Okay, so that is why we must support government. And I have said that fighting small-scale mining is not a political issue.
Secretary to the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, Charles Bishu, noted that fighting illegal mining does not mean sitting in Accra, but charging all district committees to be up and doing.
It is the monitoring which is important. So I believe that if we've set
So the
up
monitoring has been improved, is that it?
Yes, because you see, it's at the district level, regional level, and the national level. For example, the drones. We have some at the district level, the national level, and the regional level, and the national level. And whatever happens at the district level, you do not actually plan your schedule for the day. It is planned for you here. And whilst you're doing that, we have a flight hub which monitors your movement. The Galam Stop also has a tracker on it. So when you go outside outside the confines that what you're directed to, that also triggers that you're not actually doing the right thing.
Government says it trained 3,000 artisanal small-scale miners on ethical mining to enable the ban on illegal mining to be lifted.
And to international news now, and the U.S. Treasury Department has imposed sanctions on 3 individuals it accuses of expanding or extending the conflict in South Sudan. The Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control placed sanctions on retired Israeli Major General Israel South Sudanese businessman Abbas William Ulawu and South Sudanese National Gregory Vasili. 6 entities owned or controlled by 2 of the individuals were also sanctioned. Thursday, December 15, marked 5 years since the conflict broke out in South Sudan. Hundreds of thousands of people have died and more than 4 million have been displaced from their homes, either living inside UN-protected sites or neighboring countries. U.S. President Donald Trump has named Mick Mulvaney, the director of the Office of Management and Budget, as acting White House Chief of Staff. Mulvaney, 51, replaces General George Kelly, who is leaving by the end of the year. Mulvaney said in a tweet that the appointment was a tremendous honor. In a tweet, Trump described Kelly as a great patriot who had served the country with distinction. But earlier this year, General Kelly was forced to deny he has called Trump an idiot. This came after the quote was included in a book about Mr. Trump by the veteran investigative journalist Bob Woodward. Let's do international news now.
Entertainment news is brought to you by
Vodafone. The future is exciting. Ready?
Roma insecticide spray and mosquito coil. Midday.
To entertainment news now, and 4 DJs have qualified to battle it out at the grand finale of this year's 3FM's Jam in 10 Disc Jockeying, a competition slated for 22 December. Battle for the bragging rights, a cash prize and other mouth-watering prizes are at stake for this year's Jam in 10 winners.
The 3FM studios came alive as 5 semi-finalists got on the turntables to display their versatility to earn a slot for the Jamming 10 finals. One after the other, contestants were given 10 minutes to impress listeners and judges. After impressive rounds of musical display, listeners were given the opportunity to vote via social media. The votes were collected and brought to the presenter.
Was 64, making 74%. Snacky had 4.8% votes, public votes, but 88.2% judges vote. That makes it 93%. Black Boy had 23% public votes, but 75.6% judges vote, making it 98.6%.
In the end, DJ Faculty, DJ Nasty, DJ Snacky, and DJ Black Boy were all selected for the finals. They expressed their readiness for the finals.
But what I'm going to say is, let's watch out for the finals. I'm bringing my A game. It's a secret. It's a secret, my A game.
I have a whole lot of things to put out there, you get it. I'm good. Just watch out for the best. The final is going to be fun. Make sure you're on it. Don't turn out, turn in, okay?
But when the result came, I saw that the people behind me were so great enough. They didn't even put me to shame. So kudos to everyone that voted for me.
And that brings us to the end of Midday Live with me, AC Benewa Otu. Thanks so much for watching and enjoy the rest of the day. Good afternoon.